New from Radiance is Libido, number 159 in the Radiance Films range, and directed by Ernesto Gastaldi and Vittorio Salerno. Now, Gastaldi is a familiar name, and if you don't know him, you should do. He's going to write some amazing Gialli films. One of my favourites, Torso, All the Colours of the Dark, The Strange Vice of Mrs. War. He has a pedigree in Italian film. The story here is all about a young man named Christian who witnesses his father kill a woman in a mirrored room. It's driven by sex. The father then kills himself by jumping off a cliff, and we now follow Christian years later, grown up, returning to inherit his family home now he has come of age.
Case, terreni, ville, vendo tutto.
Ah, la pensi così?
D'accordo.
He's there with his fiancée Helene, his attorney Paul, and his wife Brigitte. And Christian starts to have a breakdown. He feels that his father may still be alive, and that he may be inheriting his father's insanity as well as the house. The room of mirrors continue to haunt Christian, and then there is all these strange supernatural things that seem to be happening, that seem to be pushing him closer and closer to the breaking point. It's a wonderful movie. It's a psychological kind of terror film. It is 4 characters, 1 location, and it just allows the atmosphere to continue to build and build and build. Now, it was shot in 18 days by the directors, and it is, part psychological thriller. It is a little bit erotic. It's a kind of chamber drama, and most definitely a proto-gialli. It has this claustrophobic atmosphere where every sort of glance and conversation feels hushed and whispered, and it feels loaded with hidden meaning within this household. The camera work in this one lingers on faces and bodies and gestures in ways that kind of foreshadow the tensions to come, and how this was going to be kind of central to Giallo cinema. We don't have the black gloved killer, but we do have that kind of familiar setting, the setup, the twisted mind games that are going on, the psychological twists and turns where characters are pushed to their breaking point.
Non ti sei accorta come mi studia continuamente? Sono 20 anni che amministra I miei soldi e ora non posso portare l'idea che la pacchia stia per finire.
Now, Libido predates the explosion of Giallo in the late 60s, early 70s, but it has some traits that are very familiar within that subgenre, like the sexual manipulation. Desire becomes a weapon in here. Characters constantly use their sexuality to push somebody into doing what they want, to create jealousy, to manipulate each other. It's something that becomes prevalent in Giallo movies. You have this morally ambiguous main character. He isn't a traditional hero. He's paranoid, he's emotional, he's easily drawn into the web of deceit that is clearly going on here. You have a central mystery that's tied to the past. Like many Gialli, the narrative revolves around something that happened in the childhood. You'll see this in many movies that come forward from the Gialli, but it's unburying a secret that was hidden years ago, that brings everything to the forefront. And then it has this stylish tension over outright violence. Instead of the flashy murders that would become predominant part of Gialli films, it focuses more on psychological dread and suspension, which would also be an aspect of these films. Now, as an early Giallo, as a murder mystery, as just a mystery movie, I think the one at the heart of this is a kind of sordid and interesting take on that. And I think the fact that it's got 2 directors is really interesting, because it brings 2 very different creative voices to create something that is wholly unique. You know, you've got Gastaldi, who, like we said, his pedigree is fantastic. You can see his fascination with erotic intrigue, conspiracies, and twist-heavy narratives that would come in later of his movies. But then you have Vittorio Salerno as well, who you feel, knowing what Gastaldi would do, he feels to have more of a range on the characters, on the situation. He's kind of pushing the tension and the interpersonal nature between all the characters, keeping that going. And I feel like as a working partnership, they do create really well.
E hai incominciato a temere che non ce l'avresti fatta. Era duro rinunciare ai soldi che per tanti anni avevi considerato come tuoi.
The characters are all wonderful. The performances are pretty terrific. I feel some of the characters do some really interesting work, and I think it's one of those movies that even on a rewatch where you know what's coming, you can see the nuances within their performances as well, and I think they all handle it really well. Some of it is a little bit over the top, but it fits in with the feeling of this hillside house of murder that we are watching, so it becomes a really kind of fun endeavour following this quick-paced story, the amazing actors and wonderful locations, and a kind of deft hand the directors have on this one as well. Really fun, really interesting proto-giallo film. Let's dive into the disc and have a look at the extras. Here we are in the disc for Libido. Let's go to the special features. First up, we have an audio commentary by Sam Deehan. Next, we have the jewel in the crown of this disc, Ernesto Gastaldi. The legendary screenwriter behind such cult classics as Ricardo Ferreira's The Horrible Dr. Hitchcock and Mario Bava's The Whip in the Body, takes us behind the scenes of his directorial feature debut and pays homage to his wife Mara Merrill, who also stars in the film, recorded exclusively for Radiance in October 2025. It runs for an impressive 49 minutes 23 seconds, and it's great. It covers a lot of his career, how he got started, how he was a ghostwriter working on feature films, creating a lot of things with the slow budgets, particularly talking about Libido in that context, and it is a wonderful talking head. Next, we have Richard Dyer. Italian cinema expert Richard Dyer discusses some of the salient themes of Libido in the context of a changing international landscape for horror cinema in the 1960s. Recorded exclusively for Radiance in November 2025. And again, this is looking at the film, looking at how the directors and that put the film together, considering their limited resources that they had, the influences that clearly impacted the making of the film, whether it be Hitchcock or Clouseau. They touch on these kind of facts and bring them to the forefront in another great extra. Then we have the trailer. Also included in this set is a 24-page booklet where we have 2 essays, interview with star Dominique Boschero, and then we have an interview with the script supervisor Patrizia Zollini, and that's the extras for Libido. So there we have it. Libido is a fascinating entry in the early thriller cinema, a proto-giallo film that hints of the exploitation and explosion of that genre that is just to come. It's quieter and definitely more psychological than the Gialli that would follow it, but the building blocks are there. You know, it's got the erotic tension, it's got the mystery, it's got the web of deceit that is slowly being unravelled by our protagonist. And if you are interested in Gialli and thrillers and mystery films, this is a really solid film where you can see something here that's going to impact that subgenre going forward, and it stands alone in its own right as a really good film, not just as something that predates Gialli, but as a solid thriller as well. I'd love to know your thoughts on Libido, so let me know in the comment box below whether you love it, hate it, or feel somewhere in the middle. As always, there is more content up here. You can see more of my stuff in the description box below, or links to Patreon, membership program, manvfilm.com. Always, that much you can support me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.